Hey everybody, hey guys.
I don't
Thanks for
want to
having me
see me.
back. So today we're talking about heat presses, what I consider to be good qualities in a heat press, what things that if you're in the market for a heat press to look out for, just kind of things that I find important in regards to heat presses. Just through my experience of previously doing training, I think we talked about previously as well. So that's what we're going
Awesome.
to talk about today. Today we got, bringing up my slides here for me real quick. So we're just going to cover basic heat press information, what, like I said, what I consider to be the whole to do with heat presses as far as what I find important. So if we could do the very first slide. Are you guys able to see this slideshow that I've prepared, or is it just me seeing it? I guess I never.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. All right. As with any piece of equipment, you really need to make sure you have the right tools to do the right job. So in many cases, heat presses will be the culprit for issues such as like curing inconsistencies, sometimes with crystallization and things like that. I think we talked about during the pre-treat section. Sometimes the culprit is the heat press, not necessarily the pre-treat. So things to just keep in mind for that. Sometimes the cheaper heat press will get the basic job done, but for more optimal use, you'll need to kind of upgrade. I think that goes with anything. That's a pretty general statement, honestly. So for the standard DTG use, I would recommend you have a heat press with a digital temperature gauge so that you can tell exactly how hot that this guy's getting. This one that I have here in the studio, it has the upper and lower heated platens on this guy for any range of the technical needs that I have. We've got it under control with pretty high precision. Having a digital pressure gauge, so for some you'll have just a button that you press to adjust the temperature. Sometimes you'll have this knob, but it should tell you on like a scale of 1 to 10 or in PSI how heavy it's pressing, and that's really important so that you have consistency across your prints. Another good one is when it has the little gauge for the pressure. Same thing with the temperature, that's fine too. As long as you can be confident that it's accurate, that's going to be really important. And then the last thing that I really like is the auto pop-up. I know for some of the heat presses I've worked with, it doesn't pop up on its own. It'll just stay pressed until you manually lift it up or release it. And I really prefer it to pop up. That way, if I'm setting up a job on the computer, I don't have to babysit the heat press. I know it'll pop up and kind of take care of itself. So that I find that really valuable, and I would pass on that advice to you guys too if you're in the market for a heat press. With that functionality, I do think it's very important. When you're working with a more specialized substrate like tote bags, hats, shoes to some extent as well, quality heat press is really going to take you a long way, particularly in the accessories that are sold in conjunction with those quality heat presses. So with like, for example, stalls, they've got the covers here, they've got the lower heated platen, you've got this little stand guy, I've got it on, this is the little caddy, desk caddy stand, I think is what it's called. There's a variety of accessories, all that, add value to your production capabilities. PSI to 1 to 10 values, Jim, I don't think that it has at least I'm not aware of a specific conversion for that. That might be something I'll do some research on, and then I can update you. Maybe I'll put it on the Facebook group, what I find out about that. That way, more than just yourself can be updated on that. That's not something that I have handy as far as my knowledge base. Next thing that I wanted to talk about, just general cleanliness and maintenance with your heat presses. This will be for any heat press, not just the higher end stuff, but even the more basic models. Heat press equipment has very little to maintain, but you want to make sure you keep these suckers clean. That's going to really save you a lot of headaches. So the heat presses that you can get, which have the accessories of these covers here, this is going to save you a lot of headache, because if you're printing and pre-treating, curing your shirts with these heat presses without covers on them, they're going to get a lot of buildup on here unless you're wiping those down every day. And if you are doing that, you do have to wait for it to cool down, otherwise you might burn yourself. I know I've certainly been impatient, and while it was still hot, I thought I'll just take a wet rag to it to wipe down that built up pre-treat, and I went to go wipe it and I got burned by the steam. So I do want to pass along that just piece of experience there as well. Just don't make that mistake. It definitely hurt. I don't want to see anyone else with that issue if I can do anything about it. So keeping this guy clean is going to give you a couple of benefits. One, your ink is going to cure, and your pre-treat for that matter is going to be heated more evenly. The heating element will have less strain on it, so it'll just perform more consistently overall over time. So with these covers, if you can get one for your heat press, it's really valuable because all you have to do is pop that cover off and you can just wipe it down with some wet rag or something without doing what I did and burn yourself with the steam, something like that. Cover for the bottom is really handy too. Makes it really a lot easier to slide your shirts on and off of this guy. For a lot of heat presses, I find it's got this like rubber mat. I don't know if the camera can really pick that up, but there's like this rubbery mat on here, and it's once that guy gets dirty, best thing you can do is flip it over, and I don't really like that. I'd really prefer to have this lower cover on here, so just the ease of cleaning it up is a lot better. A lot of the time, let's say you're doing a front and back print and you're not able to thread your shirts onto the heat press, this bottom cover is going to get pretty dirty. So keeping the bottom cover clean is very valuable as well. Let's see, so I do want to talk briefly on this, the stands. So not a lot of heat presses, to my knowledge, will allow you to completely thread a shirt easily. It will kind of tug on the bottom of the shirt. I don't think I have that in my presentation. This is kind of just something off the top of my head that I think is valuable for you guys to know. So having a stand where you can easily thread your shirts on is going to be really nice, because otherwise you are going to have it tugging on your shirt. You're going to have these little corner stretched areas, less than ideal for the end user of the shirts that you're printing. I guess your customers will get a less quality product if you have to do that. So that's certainly good to know, good to keep in mind. So let's move on to the next slide here. So user manuals. So user manuals are your best friend when it comes to any of this high-end equipment that you have. For a very long time, I didn't know that these heat presses that we sell have a hover feature built in. It was only once people were asking me how to adjust the settings that I bothered to read the user manual, and I discovered that feature by accident. So if you have the manual, I would really recommend you just maybe take pictures of it. That way, if you spill your coffee on it or something, you're going to still have that manual. If it's a Stahl's heat press, they have a really good catalog of their manuals online. I recently posted that on as a response to someone in the Facebook group. So if you're in the Facebook group, you can find it there. I might do a little post about some of the things that we talked about today into the Facebook group, just kind of like a little summary thing. So you'll be able to find that link there. I'll go ahead and post it. Yeah, so the heat press manuals are really valuable, especially if you need to like adjust the Fahrenheit to Celsius or put it into hover mode. Like these ones have all kinds of settings. You can have it so that it'll clamp down once all the way, and then the next clamp will be a hover press, or any variety of options there. There's really a lot of flexibility with the settings that I wouldn't have known if I didn't read the manual. And I kind of guess that goes for the printer too. Our user manual has a lot of good information in there. We're working on some solutions to make sure that the manual is easy for everyone to access, and you don't have to have like a Google Drive link for it. So that's in the works. It's not quite there yet, but keep an eye out for what we have in store for that. Just a little illusion there. Let's go ahead and move on past the user manual. Bottlenecking. So in my experience, when I was printing a lot of shirts for samples, for just whatever our production needs were, I constantly find myself bottlenecked by a single heat press. The printer for most prints is going to be faster than curing your ink on like dark shirts, for example. The white underbase plus the color layer will be faster, like I said, for most cases, than curing the ink. So you will have a bottleneck situation. I'm sure a lot of you already run into that. So 2 heat presses is usually ideal, at least for my needs. Sometimes people need 3. At that point, it might be good to consider maybe a conveyor dryer or something like that. The bottlenecking will get even worse if you're trying to pre-treat and print at the same time. I know some of you guys like to multitask, and that'll just make that bottlenecking even worse. So definitely, if you do find that you're being bottlenecked and you're ending up wasting a lot of time, go ahead and consider maybe a second one or a third one if you're at that stage. So that's my thoughts on bottlenecking. Let's move on to the next slide here. All right, so I'd like to open up, you guys for some questions. You guys have been pretty quiet throughout this whole thing. So any questions that you guys have, doesn't even have to be necessarily heat press related. I'm open to whatever topics you guys want to discuss. If there's anything that you guys are having difficulty with or anything that you want to share that you might think is constructive input, I'd really like to hear it also. Yeah, so at least on this one, so changing out the bottom platen, you're going to have a little lever down here on the bottom, and then it just lifts right up and out. In this case, we have the lower heated platen, so there's some extra cabling coming in the back here, so I'm not going to actually take it off, but basically you just, let me turn this guy so you can see. So right here you have this little lever. You open that, and then this will just pick right up and off. But like I said, I have that extra cabling for the lower heated platen, so it's not going to come off as easily for this one.
Yeah, we do. We've got we have the 24-inch forced air conveyor. We can get the 36-inch forced air and the 36-inch Aeolus. And same thing for the 54-inch. So you just let me know which one you want. Is Josh Payee on this call? I think he was actually getting one too. I don't know if he's here or not, but yeah, we can get those. They're actually really hard to get your hands on at the moment, so we can order them. They're about when you order through OmniPrint, we try to beat that competitor price by 5%. So if you find it for a lower price, let us know and we'll beat it by 5%. So it's 24-inch, 36-inch, 54-inch. We can get all of those from BBC Industries.
That's pretty sweet. Okay.
It is pretty sweet.
What else you guys got? IQ 360 stalls press. Pressing white cotton. What are the settings that you guys use? I'm not familiar with that specific stalls heat press. So for curing the ink, you want a little bit of a lighter pressure. You don't exactly want to try pushing the ink through the shirt. So you want it on a lower pressure. On this one, I'll use like a 1 or 2 pressure. If it's a thicker garment, I might go a little bit higher just to compensate for the extra ink that I would have applied or the extra pre-treat. As far as drying the pre-treat, I would want a little bit higher pressure, maybe like a 5 or a 6, just to start out, and then kind of dial it in based on my garment and what my needs are specifically. Let's see, my machine is not working. Can you give me the phone number where I can have help? That can be dropped into the chat. I don't remember our support number.
Yeah. If you're trying to get some help, you got to go through the support system in order to do that, you got to go to omniprintonline.com and click on that support link and make sure you fill out a ticket. You're gonna need to do, I would recommend you do that first, and then you'll get scheduled up with a rep, assuming you are in warranty.
Do you have any persons who can come to the house and help me to fix the machine?
We do have that. Who is that said that?
Vamguli.
Vamguli, how are you, sir? We do have technicians that can do on-site work for you. It just depends where you're at. Where are you located?
Arizona, Phoenix.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can definitely get out there then. We can generally get anywhere we need to, but again, you'll have to get quoted for that by going through our support line, and they'll give you they'll take your all of your information down, generate a ticket within their system, and then depending on exactly what is wrong with the machine, et cetera, they can send a technician out to your spot to help you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So just make sure you submit a ticket through the system though, so they have record of everything that's going on. What they'll do is you'll submit a ticket, they'll assign a rep or a technician to you, probably get on a phone call first to hear about what's going on with the actual machine. To try to do a diagnosis process to figure out what parts they're going to need to bring out to you, and they'll generate a quote for you on what for that, and then you can just decide if you want to do that or not through them.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much for your help, sir.
Our pleasure, sir. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk soon.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
All right.